got shipped to Concord. When you got first degree, you're not allowed to, you know, mix with the inmates. So they brought us to the hole. We sat in the hole for, I want to say, 4 or 5 days, and then we got shipped to Shirley Banks.
With the murder case, eventually what happens? You end up going to trial, or do you plead out? What happens with that case? Are you sitting in Nashua Street, 52A status?
So that was unexpected, like, you know, so you have to understand that's something that they accused me of doing 8 years ago. So, you know, I'm living life like, you know, whatever. You came to see me in 95, cool. So, you know, I went about my business, and eventually indictments came in. And, you know, when indictments came in, it was shocking, but they didn't come down on me. So my lawyer called the DA and was like, what's going on with my client? And they're like, well, we're coming to get him. Tell him, man, you know, enjoy his time out there. So, you know, immediately I'm on the run, man, you know, but I mean, eventually I'm like, they're not coming. I went back home, you know what I mean? So, you know, it was a trying time, but I never thought it was going to come down.
Okay. But eventually, what happens?
So eventually, the mother of my kids is incarcerated, man, for doing basically what we was doing down here. She got caught up, man, and, you know, she was doing some time. So I had to go down there and take care of the kids. So when I went down there and took care of the kids, that's where the agents came and got me in Virginia.
And then they fly you up here, bus? How does it work?
So I spent a month down in Norfolk, VA County, man. Actually one of the best places I ever been, man, you know. Well, it depends on how you, like,
how you do
I'm someone, man, like, if I get into a situation, I'm there. You know what I mean? So it's like, while others didn't thrive there, I thrived. There was no COs in the unit. That's something, man, I thrive. Okay, man, listen. And I'm someone that's cool. So I was, within a couple of days, all the Norfolk dudes was fucking with me. I was basically chilling, man. You could smoke weed in the unit, man. So I kind of loved it out there.
And just being from Boston, did anyone kind of look at you a certain way? I know sometimes down south they
listen, man, like, again, I've always traveled, man. So I go state to state dolo, and, you know, at the time, man, I was wearing a lot of jewelry, man. I go in the danger zones of every city, man. So I'm used to standing on my 10 toes, used to being around people who, you know, others look at as dangerous. And it was just like, yo, it comes natural to me. I'm going to stand in on mine and shit. You know, everybody going to love me at the end of the day. I'm going to love you. You know what I mean? Shit.
So you're not sitting in Virginia forever. Eventually they want to put you in front of a judge. What happens? They just tell you one day, pack it up?
No, well, I immediately signed over for, you know, to be extradited back to Boston, you know, because, again, I'm like, after 8 years, you don't have nothing. I'm ready to face my accusers, go to trial, beat it, man, and come back and live my life. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, let's rock, man. So, you know, I flew back, man. They sent me down Dedham County. Hated the place, you know what I mean? I'm like, man, send me to Nashua Street so I could go 52A. But I spent a year up there, and then, you know, eventually went to trial.
And then how does trial go? Are you confident going into it? Like you said, they didn't charge you, right? It was 8 years. All this time has passed. Usually that's a good thing for the defendant.
My whole case was circumstantial. You didn't have really anybody putting a gun in my hand, anybody saying they did anything. You didn't have any witnesses. So, of course, I'm feeling confident, like, okay, you know, the witnesses you're using, they're known liars, they're known drug addicts, they're known, you know, people that I can really break down their character. So it's more or less, okay, if your lawyers do a good job, we're going to win this, man. So, you know, I was confident going in, but until, you know, I picked the jury and, you know, I see it wasn't, you know, of my peers, and that's when I started getting a little worried.
So this was out of Dedham, Superior,
So I'm
Norfolk?
out of Norfolk County. So Boston, you know, is Suffolk County. and where we live is on the borderline of Mattapan and Milton. So my case happened on the tip of Milton.
What's the difference between if you were to get a jury in Suffolk Superior as opposed to Dedham for the people who may not know?
All right, so in Boston, you're dealing with the majority is African Americans. You know what I mean? Especially in the inner city when it comes to Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and you get surrounded. So in Suffolk County, whether you're innocent or guilty, you're gonna get a fair shot for the most part if you pick the right jury, just because they seen both sides of the fence. They seen cops lie. They seen criminals do the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? So they're gonna give you an ear, basically, for the most part, and hopefully your lawyer can do a better job, man, of beating the DA at what he's trying to accuse you of. Norfolk County, on the other hand, is the suburbs. It's majority, I want to say, 90% white. So, well, actually, it's 95. So we did the studies on it. It's 95 and it's 5% African American. But when we looked at the jury pool, a federal jury pool, we only found out that they was only pooling 2.5% of the black population. So it's only 5% of the whole county, and then they're cutting that in half of who can actually come and talk at the jury and basically decide your fate.
So from pretty much the beginning, once you start seeing the jury selection and things, now you're starting to feel less confident?
Yeah, listen, man, we ended up with a police officer's son as the head foreman.
Wow.
So, obviously I'm like, listen, this is not going good. He's not gonna go against the police. And basically our case was circumstantial, so it had everything to do with what the police was accusing us of and how they conducted their investigation and the points they missed and how they could have, searched other people to see if they did the crime, which they didn't do.
How long does trial last?
A week.
A week.
Yeah, 7 days.
So you come back, they're ready to read the verdict. Just kind of walk me through like your mindset at the time.
At that time, I felt like we hit on a lot of points. We broke down all their witnesses, and I felt, if the jurors really paid attention, they would have seen that nothing really added up and that they would have found us not guilty. You know what I mean? So I was feeling confident, but at the same time during trial, just observing, the characters of the jurors and looking at their demeanor when it comes to me and my co-defendant and the lawyer speaking, it kind of sent mixed messages where I was, a little bit held back, like, wait a second, this might be bad.
And then they start reading off the charges. Guilty, first degree?
So they end up reading it off to me first. And basically they was, of course, they stand up, read off, okay, you've been charged with this. What does the jury say? You know what I mean? And the first thing I heard was, guilty. I was like, wait a second. You know what I mean? And at first I didn't react. I kind of just took it in, and then, my mom's reacted, and that kind of set me off. And then my sister started approaching the jury, and they grabbed her, and that's when everybody stood up. And the judge was like, let her go, let her go, let her go, and she ran out, and that's from there I just couldn't take it. I let it go.
Yeah, right. I mean, rightfully so.
Right.
I would think anybody would. So guilty. What's the next move? Is it Concord again?
There we went back to Dedham, man. They had, two vans, 2 police cars, and basically sped us all the way straight to the Dedham, and then from there we got shipped to Walpole, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you say how many people were involved with that cut?
Excuse me.
How many people? You said we. So how many people?
So
Was
it
it
was
just
me
you?
and my
or-
me and my co-defendant. So excuse
one
me,
co-defendant.
we ended up getting shipped to Concord. So we got shipped to Concord. When you got first degree, you're not allowed to mix with the inmates. So they brought us to the hole. We sat in the hole for I want to say 4 or 5 days, and then we got shipped to Shirley Max.
What was your take on Shirley Max at the time? Was it fairly new?
So
New prison?
I
What
had
was going
actually
on
it
there?
was fairly new, but I had previously probably just bailed out of Shirley Max on
Okay.
probably like 4 months before the indictments came down
Okay.
for the shooting case at the Rose Club. So I came out of there. So I was basically knew everybody up there.
Okay. How fast are you starting to like? Let me try to flip this.
Oh, immediately. Well, listen. After I cussed out the jury and the judge, listen. So I twice. So I cussed them out. You know what I mean? They took me out of court, and they was like, okay, you can come. I had my jury. I had all my suit on. I took that off. Like fuck all this charades. Been put on my street clothes. It was like, okay. They came back. It was like, we'll let you back in if you're gonna behave. We're gonna read your co-defendant's verdict. Will you behave? I'm like, sure. Let me go in. So I come back in, street clothes. Everybody looking at me. They already know my fate. You know what I mean? So I sit down. I hear my co-defendant's verdict, man, and it comes out the same thing as mine. So I get back and flip out again. You know what I mean? I cuss everybody out. But one thing I told the judges, I'll be back in 5 years. You fucked up. So that's what I kept on saying. I told everybody that, when I walked out, dudes had sob faces, you know what I mean? Because, they cared about their dude going to prison for the rest of their life, you know what I mean? But I told everybody, I'm straight. I'll be back in 5 years.
Okay. So the fact that you were so confident with this appeal, does it ever sink in? Like, I really got a life sentence?
I was the opposite. In adversity, and I've always been more calm than the situation at hand. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like when I really need something, I slow things down, and I just always trust the process. I feel like, man, if you really believe in something and you know something and you do the research behind it, chances are you'll get the results you want. So from the beginning of the trial, my lawyers argued that it was unjust for the judge to do it, and that was the same thing I flipped my case on.
How long do you sit with this sentence until you're able to go back in front of the judge?
So I usually you get your transcripts within like 18 months. And I got my transcripts within 18 months as well as my co-defendant. I could have put in for a direct appeal, which is, what my lawyer wanted to do. I had Stephen Rones at the time. And his lawyer wanted to put in for a Rule 30. You know what I mean? So to preserve all our any issues we had. So my lawyer's like, listen, we got a direct appeal. This is a sure shot. They shouldn't have did this. I never seen nothing like this in my life. Let's go. But my co-defendant's like, listen, hold off on me. So I waited like a whole year to put in my appeal so that he could do his process and put it in.
And you stayed with the same lawyer you had the whole time? Why not go to an appeals lawyer?
So I did go with appeal. So
Okay.
I had James Dilday for trial, which was basically the crew lawyer. He's someone who was on deck, on call. I could call his house no matter what time it is, and he's going to answer and make sure that he's in court today or defend me right there on the moment, at the second, you know what I mean? So I had him. He blew trial. The best lawyer that I could get was Stephen Rones. At the time, as soon as like a week after, Rosemary came to see me. She sat in a couple of days of my trial. She's like, listen, I feel like I can raise the issues to overturn your case. She was fresh off the Drum Gold case where she flipped it and got him paid. So that was, a big option, and she was always huge as a trial lawyer. But, at the time, Stephen Rhodes was, I think, had flipped like the last 5 appeals, you know what I mean? So,
He's hot.
yeah, so he was hot, you
Right,
know
the
what I
hot
mean?
hand,
Yeah,
yeah.
so he's like, listen, give me 30 and I'll stay on top. I was like, okay, fuck it, man. I went with him, and he was, he gave me that confidence as soon as he came in the door and was like, listen, I'm going to take control of this case. I got it. I'm going to flip it.
Yeah. Do you stay up Shirley Max until you're able to what? Get back in county and
So,
retry? How does
actually-
it work? Or did you get out of the Max?
So actually, I'm kind of pissed off at my lawyer at the time, Stephen Rhodes. It's a crazy story. So I put in my appeal, but I tell him to put another issue in, and he doesn't put the issue in. So I'm kind of upset at it, like, yo, wait a second, man, I need that issue in there, you know what I mean? And I let it go for a while, like I think 3 weeks or so. And then I'm like a month, and I'm like, man, listen, I called him that day, like, listen, I need to speak to you. Give me a call. Let's go. You know what I mean? So that lunchtime, I get a they open my door and tell me I have an attorney call. So I'm like, all right, cool, man. He's going to make sure he do what he got to do, man. Da-da-da. I go into the office. It's a CEO and a caseworker there. So the CEO, it's a bad CEO too. You know what I mean? So I'm already, pumped up, like, okay, man, listen, man, let me get a little action, man. I'm mad the CEO's there. You know what I mean? So he asked me, what you doing? I'm like, I'm doing a first, man. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, you doing life. I'm like, man, I ain't doing life, man. I just put in my appeal, man. I'm about to be out of here any day. You don't know me, man. So he's like, man, that's what they all say. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. So I try to call my lawyer. I can't get through. He's like, yeah, that's how those court appointees are. They don't care about you. I'm like, no, I got to pay lawyer, whatever. So
why do you think he was assuming that? You think it was a racial thing?
Well, I think for one, a lot of people don't have money for paid lawyers, especially in the appeal process. If you do have money, you usually put it up for trial, and then, you win, lose, or draw, for a lot of people. So it's fact. But at that time, that time he was being an asshole, and he was trying to impress the lady that I was trying to get at, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, I look better than you. You trying to down me? I said, okay.
Yep.
The call comes back in. The lady picks it up. She said, okay, listen, it's for you, it's your lawyer. So I end up getting a call. I said, it's the secretary. So I'm like, what's going on with Rhodes? I need to speak to him. She's like, well, I think you need to hear it from him. So I'm like, all right. She patches me in. I'm like, what's going on, Rhodes? He's like, congratulations, you just flipped your case.
Wow.
I'm on top of the world, man, because I'm cussing him out. The day I cuss him out is the day I overturn my case.
That's wild.
And I'm sitting there in front of the CEO. So now I'm grandstanding like, what'd you say? I just flipped my case. I overturned my case.
Right.
No, don't tell. And he's sitting there with his jaw dropped. Now the lady's drooling like, wait a second, I might get some action. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was 5 years into my bid. Like I told the judge, 5 years into my bid, I overturned my case. Wow. And 5 years, almost to the day, I was in front of the judge saying, I'm back.
Wow. Just like you said, manifestation at its finest.
It came through just like that. Of course, he gave me no bail, and I sat for another 7 years after that.
So what did they do? Where did they bring you? Are you on 52A status this time, at least back upstate, or you go back to?
So I overturn my case. A couple of days later, I get classified to Norfolk. Okay. I get shipped to Norfolk prison, and I'm just waiting on basically to go back in front of the judge for a bail. I go back in front of the judge. I ask for $250,000 cash. He gives me no bail.
Damn.
Everybody gets a bill or a bill like that, but I didn't get no bail. So I'm thinking, okay, no problem. Either we go to trial or something happens where they drop the case. And we keep on uncovering dirt after dirt that they were withholding and everything. So we're like, okay, they're gonna end up dropping this case. They don't have no evidence. The witnesses got caught up in other murder cases.
Okay.
They got caught up in drugs and kidnappings and all that. So we're like, okay, the witnesses are trash against us, and it's gonna be cool. Get no bail in 6-7 years.
Do you have to? Does it get dropped, or do you have to retry it and beat it at trial? Do you have to go to trial again?
So halfway through, I want to say in my 7th or 8th year, my main witness catches a murder case in Connecticut. So the police, the DA, gave him money and shipped him to Connecticut. A deal that they withheld, they didn't tell us. Okay. The other guy that they said didn't have a deal, they withheld, they didn't tell us. So everybody, they withheld all these deals that we uncovered eventually, down the line. But he catches a murder case. He tells on those dudes.
Wow.
So their lawyer is working with our lawyer. We give them all our information to try to help out those dudes. Like, listen, man, he's a slime ball. This is what we have on him. If you got some, swing it back to us. Right. You know what I mean? Our second witness, he goes and does a home invasion. He's caught up in another murder. He sits there and snitches on them.
Damn.
So what I mean? I start seeing the game, man. Yeah. Like, okay, listen, I had already knew it by then, but I was like, the game isn't what it was, man. Right. Everybody be talking about their enemies and how they're cowards and how they're suckers. It be the main dudes you hang with that really bring you down in any criminal organization. Yep. So, I was going through it with my own dudes. You see what I'm saying?
That's wild. So why do you think they were able to get away with pushing it off for 7 years? That's a long time.
Listen, if you're doing a big one and you've already come from it, you're gonna strategically, man, play chess with it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There was times that we felt we had the advantage, and of course we pressed for trial. Mm-hmm. We had times that we're like, wait a second, our ducks are not lined up, so
push it back.
We're not ready. You see what I'm saying? But at any given time, our whole objective was never going back to trial. Our whole objective was proving all the things they did that the judge is supposed to drop the case. And we proved it 20 times over. Mm-hmm. They just wouldn't do it. Like, no judge would take our case because it just kept on crumbling. Everything they said they did was a lie.
How does it eventually come to an end? You go to court one day and they finally just drop everything?
So no. On my probably 11th year, going into the 12th year, they're saying we're going to trial. And it's a given we're going to trial. So we're like, okay, let's go to trial. Mm-hmm. Our main witness is in Trinidad. He's been shipped over. He can't come back. So we're saying we don't have no witness against us, no testimony. Drop his testimony. There's nothing against us. You either drop the case or you go to trial with nothing. Mm-hmm. They want to bring in and read his old testimony against us. And we're saying, listen, we have a right to our accuser. What's going on? You know what I mean? You could have kept him here. You didn't keep him here. And they're like, well, we tried. Mm-hmm. Again, we're working with the DA and the lawyers in Connecticut.
And does the DA, do they know that you know about what's going on over there? Okay.
So actually, we had it down the line. We had the DA from Connecticut and the lawyer from Connecticut come testify against us with our old DA who was fired on a stand for a perjury case. You know what I mean? Yeah. So because we're kind of it's kind of, well, I can't say perjury, but it's kind of like he's saying that he did everything to keep him here, and he's testifying that he did it, and you have a lawyer and a DA saying that's totally untrue.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's total.
So he got fired on the spot
Well,
during
no,
the trial? Okay.
he was already fired.
So talk about what leads up to that getting fired. How does it?
So he was just always getting caught up doing dumb shit. So I don't, you know, I know he got caught up on a lot of our case. There was another murder case that was going on. He was doing it, and he was going. He was fired. You know.
Prosecutorial
Well,
misconduct or whatever?
he got reprimanded in our case. He got a public reprimand by the SJC in our case. So he was already on shaky grounds. And it's like I said, everything he said, we caught him up in lies. And it was like it was going to be detrimental to their case to use him against us anyway.
Do you think like just getting fired from your job, that's not enough for someone like that to be in a position of power and I would think held up to a higher standard being a district attorney? Do you think that should be a criminal charges or do you think just getting fired is enough?
Again, I don't think he got fired just for our case.
Okay.
I think he got fired for a collective of misconducts, man. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever he did is on him, but I know there was a lot of dirt. He wouldn't have been on the stand,
Right.
you know what I mean, begging for his life, you know what I mean, if it wasn't, you know what I mean? So he didn't do what he was supposed to, so we're saying drop the transcripts. The new DA sends a detective down to Trinidad. Gets in contact with the witness, says, listen, do you want to testify against these guys again? He says, what? Sure.
Wow.
If I can stay in the country. They say, fine, okay. But, you know, they present a document to him saying he can stay in the country. Yeah. He signs that. He brings it back. They bring it back to Dedham Court, Norfolk County. Somewhere in between, that document goes missing. In replaced of it is a document sent to Homeland Security. And this document says, I agree to testify and get shipped back to Trinidad.
Wow.
So
Fishy.
we're saying someone did some fucked up shit. Someone just forced, for one, try to bring a murderer into the country over Homeland Security's, you know, head. And then for two, they ended up, you know, lying to the guy. A week before trial, the DA comes, you know, say, okay, we're ready for trial. I tell Rosemary at this time, I got Rosemary, and I tell Rosemary, listen, that ain't something's fishy. Something's going on. She ends up going to the federal lawyer, his lawyer, that's representing him down in Trinidad, and says, what's going on? She says, well, hey, he's getting you know, he's getting to stay in the United States. And we say, no, that's not what happened. We present what the DA gives us that says he's going to testify and get kicked back out. The next day, she calls him. Detective comes down there and says, let's go. And he says, I'm not going anywhere. You played me. We're happy to the agreement we came. And he said, I don't know, but let's go down and back to Mass and we'll figure it out. Okay. He never went.
Okay.
So from that, our testimony was supposed to get thrown out. And we had a big evidentiary hearing on that. And that's where the DA from Connecticut came into play. A federal Homeland Security came into play to speak for Homeland Security. The attorney for the homicide, the lawyers that was defending them, the homicide issues came into play. Because the DA down there was saying, listen, I kept on contacting this DA saying, let's do a joint thing to keep this guy in the country. He told me, fuck off. I don't need the witness. Right. So that was a requirement, a Massachusetts requirement of the law of you being able to use a missing instruction. The judge didn't do it. You know what I mean? She didn't give it to us. even with them, you know, doing some dishonest shit. We proved all that shit. Even with the DA pointing at that, we had the detective that flew down there.
Damn.
He said, we're like, well, you signed this saying you read his rights that he signed. He said, oh, I didn't read it. We're like, well, it says right here.
That's what a signature is for.
They said this
Saying
says
you read
here
it,
goes
bro.
your signature right here that says, you know, sign your name. I read him the instructions of coming back on this thing. He said, I didn't read it to him.
Wow.
So we're like, what the hell? He's like, well, I just got it from the DA and passed it along.
Wow.
We're like, well, do you do this with all your witnesses then? You know what I mean? And he's like stuck because he's like, listen, if I say I read him this, then I'm kind of putting myself in the mix of how the hell does dude's paperwork get mixed up and he's agreeing to testify and get pushed back.
Yeah.
So it was some bullshit, man.
Damn.
Yeah. So
Eventually, are you getting confident enough where you think you're getting out? Do you
I
start
think
formulating
I'm
a
going to
plan?
beat my case for the whole 14
So did you start
years.
formulating a plan upon what you were going to do upon your release?
I've been planning. I was planning since the day I got in there.
So talk
I was
about
like,
it. What was the plan?
I
Was it
was
the
always.
books?
I mean, it was always about just coming up, man, and just I had already transitioned my life, man. So where gang banging wasn't a part of my mind thinking.
At what point does that shift your way of thinking? What point does that happen?
I mean, listen, man.
Was it gradual?
Everybody, they think that prison is, a place of destruction. Prison is somewhere that, you learn to be a better criminal, and it's all about prison reform. It's about if you put them in a place of destruction where you're locking them up in cages and you don't let them out, they're gonna act wild because they're not. But when you give them resources, when you give them schooling, when you give them, programs to do, and you let the inmates collectively basically control themselves and make sure they're straight. You see what I'm saying? I went to Norfolk and it was basically a different way of living, man. Different way of living in prison than I ever been. It's one of the only prisons at the time that let you cook. It's one of the prisons that had college courses, that had trades that you can, do welding. They had programs where you had second thoughts, built by the inmates, that had outside people coming in. We had music programs where they were throwing our own concerts, man, coming in, cheering for us, man, so, it was something that made you adjust to society before you got there, and that's what transformed our minds into, we need to do better. The youth sat there and watched us do craziness. They sat there and watched us do the destruction. So let's give back in a positive manner, and that's what we started in Norfolk. We didn't wait till we got home to the street.
That's what's up. So when do you first start the process of the first book? When does that start? And which one was it?
So I came home, with my co-defendant. So you have to understand first, I was underneath the juvenile law. Okay. So I never had to cop out. So I was underneath the juvenile law, and probably the only person in the country that was convicted and then waiting trial. You see what I'm saying? So under all the laws, it said you had to drop the indictments and give the jury a chance to re-indict him as a juvenile. Problem is, we already had this hearing.
Okay.
So now we know for a fact you can't bring in my main witness. So they had to drop my indictments and they couldn't re-indict me again. Okay. So I basically could have just went straight home, never been indicted, never been convicted, and never been even charged with anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I'd already flipped my case. But I ended up going behind my co-defendant's back and telling the DA, I'll plead guilty if you give my co-defendant the same sentence.
Okay.
So, that's, basically we was underneath the old law, 18 to 20. So, that gave him time served. It made me do a little bit more time because I never had any earned good days.
Okay. You get out, but when do you start writing the book? Is that when you get out, or is that before?
I get out. I start living my life. Me and my right hand, we open a car dealership. We do that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I started, getting serious about the book. Okay. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Everybody said that I have a story to tell. Everybody says that, man, it's a crazy life, man. And of course, man, I feel like, man, I've done it all too. So it's like, it's something I wanted to get off my chest,
Absolutely. You're also in the process of trying to help other people who want to be authors? Is it a publishing company? How does that work?
So I own the publishing company, Casual Business Moves Publishing. I haven't put anybody else on, but I'm looking to work with a lot of people. A lot of people reach out to me, so we're working together, and we're just trying to build the community up, man. Sometimes, man, all the time. It's never really about money with me, man. You know what I mean? It's all more about us working collectively together so that we can build something special, man, and hopefully that something special will bring in the money. You see what I'm saying?
Yep,
but
absolutely.
we have to build a foundation for us, and that's a lot of things that people are not really willing to put in the work for. You know what I mean? It's the grind part.
Absolutely. I think if you just become the best version of you, that money's going to follow you. You'll attract it anyway, you know what I mean? So don't chase the money, chase the best version of you, and that stuff will start to come. What advice would you give to somebody who just came home and they want to do the right thing?
I think that you don't have any alternative but to do the right thing. I mean, if you want to go ahead and, live the life of crime and then become part of the problem, then you're just going to be in a recycle spin, man, of going in and out of prison, man. And the problem is that after so many chances, you don't come out. You see what I'm saying? Right. So I half of the people I hung in the street with are probably dead. The other half are doing long prison terms. You know what I mean? And thanks to the juvenile law, a lot of people are getting second chances that had life without parole. You know what I mean? That's something that, I feel is important because these are the people that are going to be the foundation of the streets. These are the people that really, truly care about changing, the narrative of, what we cause. You know what I mean? They look at us like lost pieces, but we're someone that can really give back to society, really can connect with the people that are out there doing things. And that's what we really want to do from the bottom of our heart.
Why do you think it was important for that law to get passed, the juvenile law?
Well, I think, again, man, everybody deserves a second chance because we have a lot of talent in prison, man. You know what I mean? And I think, man, again, their minds not really, at a mature age, man. As my case, I was 17. You see what I'm saying? And not to say anything about that case, but I was always, I was doing crazy shit, man, throughout my years. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, you got to come to a time of realization that what you're doing is not adding up to anything. And we lost friends. You know what I mean? Like, those are friends that I could never get back. Everybody talk about the game of how you're gonna win, you're gonna make $1 million. Motherfuckers don't make millions of dollars in the game. Motherfuckers go to jail and end up dead. You see what I'm saying? And the ones that don't really play the game, they're on the street to talk about it. You see what I'm saying? The ones that play the game, all my friends, they doing 30, 40, or they doing natural. So it's like something that, you have to understand what you're getting into.
If there was one message that you wanted to at least get somebody to understand as far as this whole lifestyle and prison and the streets, what would that message be?
I just think that, man, listen, when I came home from doing life without parole, the squares that never was in the streets, I treated just the same. They had the same respect. They had the same things. The only thing they had was more material things in a life and a family that I lost out on. I was in the jail, you know, repping the gang, you know what I mean? But at the same time, life was still going on, you know what I mean? And when you go into prison, it's about your family. It's about your mother. It's about your kids, everybody else, your friends. And I always say that's for the street. Your boys ain't gonna be there in the prison, man. You see what I'm saying? They're gonna be living their life, and you better hope that you get a few dollars, man, in the process. Same thing with women. They can say they love you all the death. Women are gonna come and go. The life is gonna go on, and 9 times out of 10, like we say, man, dick in the street beats love in prison. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you have to realize what you're getting yourself in and what you're willing to give up.
Having this second chance, a newfound opportunity at life, just talk about some of the things that you're looking forward to with your freedom moving forward.
I mean, I just look forward to, you know, good health, waking up every day, doing right by people, making sure that, you know, I leave a good legacy when I leave. You know, I did so much bad that it's always been about karma for me. Like even when I was doing bad, I would try to do something good every day, man. I was making all the money, I give money away every day. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to balance life out where it ends up good on the scale. Whereas they're saying, listen, man, he was a good guy, he made some bad choices, but overall he helped a lot of people, he did a lot of good in the community, and he cared from the bottom of his heart. You see what I'm saying?
What message would you give to the youth, and are you working with the youth? Is that something you plan to do? Man, why?
That's mainly what I do, man. You know, of course, I'm someone that also works with, you know, the gangs. I'm someone that, you know, is connected with the majority of the gangs in Boston, especially when it comes to the older guys. We did a lot of time and built bonds together. So we're all on the same path of just trying to change, you know, the narrative of what Boston was about, man. You know, we want to squash the beast. We don't want to see no young dudes die. We already know everybody's tough. You see what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, when you lose someone, they're gone forever. You know, when you lose your boy, man, that's something that 10, 15, 20 years down the line, you're going to sit there and think, damn, man, all that wasn't worth it, man. If I could just share that moment with that guy again, man, you know, it'd be the world for me. So it's like, no matter if you get 10 of them and they get 2 of you, you still lost.
What do you win from that game that you play sometimes, the streets, right?
And believe me, Dad, you might get 2 of them, but one of you gonna end up doing life.
Yeah.
Like there's not
That's
There's not a crew in Boston that don't have a snitch in it.
Yeah, everywhere.
There's not a crew in America.
Mafia,
anything. Listen, listen. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And sometimes your strongest link can become the weakest link at a second. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you're playing a game of chance, and a lot of people just don't know the rules of what they're playing for. They jumping in the game and they want to be cool, but they don't understand that you're going to lose because you're responsible for everybody, and everybody's responsible for you. What one person does, man, can have an effect on you. And conspiracy is a bad fucking thing, man.
Yeah, no, you don't want that. You did a lot of time in jail, in prison. Did you ever have to lose a loved one in there? And what's that like, dealing with that from the inside?
I never personally, I think, lost a family member while I was in there, but I lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of people I care about, man, and I lost a lot of people when I came home. So it's like, if you're in the game, you're going to lose people.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's about, man. Like I always said, the OG told me 3 things going to happen. He's like, someone's going to go to fucking jail for a long time. Someone's going to snitch in your crew. And someone's going to and someone's going to get killed from your side.
Yeah.
Those are 3 things that you can definitely guarantee once you start a game. Someone's going to snitch. Someone's going to go to jail for a long time. And someone's going to get killed from your crew. It's happening every gang in America. You see what I'm saying? And if it hasn't happened, your time's coming up.
Yeah.
Not everybody's solid. Not everybody comes off the porch and plays the game the way you play.
Right.
So therefore, it's like you're playing a losing game and just rather be a square.
Talk about the hoodie. Is that just something personally made for you, or do you got a clothing line going
So, you
on?
know, we do GGO. I think I'm not sure if this is GGO. I think this is one of the neighborhoods. So I'm into wearing all black owned. And listen, I think this guy makes incredible clothing. And it's like,
Yeah,
listen,
absolutely.
everything I do is supporting everything in the hood. If
That's what
it's
it's
if
about.
it's made and it's for us, man, I want everybody to benefit because the hood supports me big, and it's about us, you know, uniting and supporting each other.
Talk about some of your short-term goals that you may have lined up.
I mean, listen, I got a lot of things in the mix. You know, a
Okay.
lot of positive, great things, man, and you know, we're on the verge of being very successful in the city, man. So
Absolutely.
I'm just waiting for things to come together. I'm doing part 3 of my life story. I'm doing a few things on the side, and hopefully the movie will be coming soon, man. That's the next stage.
The movie. Talk about the movie. Is it based on your life? Is it just a work of fiction? What's the
Well,
plan with
if
the
I
movie?
was, I got a lot of projects I'm trying to do actually, man. But and those projects will probably come first. But if it comes down to my life story, it's just gonna be my life story.
Yeah.
Just like these 2 books, you know, it's told through my eyes. I really don't really venture off too much of telling everybody else's story, but I wanted to give the people that, you know, I felt were important to the city a little bit of props, man, because they have important stories that need to be heard. You know what I mean? A lot of the Corbett dudes, man, that was really doing the source, they have a lot of important stories, man, that I could never attest to. You see what I'm saying? But what I can attest to is in the book, man, and everything is coming from my eyes, my life, man, my story.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So, man, if there was anything else that you wanted to touch on, promote, maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about, I mean, here's a chance to do that.
Well, as you know, man, check me out, Casual Business Moves Publishing. Appreciate, you know, the invite. Make sure
Absolutely.
you come and check out Wrong Turn Right source information. I also got 2 erotic short stories, Fantasies of Passion Part 1 and Part 2. Those things right there are going to be something electric for the bedroom, something that's going to turn on the females. And guys, you'll enjoy it as well. And, you know, I'm just looking for projects to be done. I do a clothing drive. I do a toy drive. I
Awesome.
do a bunch of community events where I give back. And we're going to spin it, man, for the Boston, man. We're going to make sure that we're creating that positive spin, man, you know.
Absolutely. Do you got a message for Boston that you want to get out there, man?
I just want, you know, listen, man, we all together, man, whether you in the streets, corporate, man, or just working every day, man, listen, man, treat everybody, man, with respect, man, make sure everybody's getting their love, man, and, you know, listen, man, Boston do it big anyway, man. We always been collectively strong, but we just need to be collectively strong together, man, you know, that's it.
Absolutely. I always say, like, Boston is such a bit for such a smaller city compared to other big cities. It has so much impact. I feel like culturally,
Right.
politicians, sports, everything. So we got to try to spin it in a positive way. I think, man.
Well, at the end of the day, we can only guide us.
That's it.
And when we let other people, you know, try to dictate what goes on in our lives and how we live. Listen, we raised Boston, man, when it was dirty, man, trash on the ground, when, you know, it was divided, everything, man. Listen, we're now coming together. We got to live together. So let's make sure that we do it collectively and support each other, man. Everybody needs to be collective
Absolutely.
as a unit in Boston. If you come into Boston, make sure you rep it like that.
What do you think would be the biggest misconception about people who been to prison?
Besides getting fucked in the ass,
Well, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a Hollywood thing for the most
man,
part.
listen,
But
man. That shit don't be going down, man. For everybody that
facts. There you
think,
go.
man,
Talk
you
about.
go to jail and you just gonna come out gay and fucking that. Listen, if you come out gay or you hear your man came out gay, best believe he had that shit in him before he went in and you just didn't see that about him. You see what I'm saying? He just had opportunity to, you know, open himself up, man. But for the most part, man, in jail, man, there's enough people willing, man, that if you want to do something, you're gonna be who you want to be, man. But
Yeah.
it's really not like that. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest misconception is that we're in there like wild animals.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's not the case.
Right.
If you got a lot of time, most people, man, got more experience, man, as jailhouse lawyers than real lawyers on the street. You see what I'm saying? Like, because they're really in the field, can pinpoint, you know, a case law off their dome. You see what I'm saying? Like, and we're communities where it's like, okay, like if I come down with something or I see something, it might not pertain to me. I'm gonna look to who it pertains to, man, and see if it helps them. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, jail is a bird cage. Nobody wants to be there. I wish that on my worst enemies. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't have no problems with them, because it's like, I don't wish this on you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This ain't for none of us. You see what I'm saying? So it's at the end of the day, man, it's like we're all trying to help each other.
How do we build more reform on the inside, in your opinion?
We got to stop taking away from us and give us more, man. You see what I'm saying? Like I said before, like Norfolk State Prison is a place that has great minds. You see what I'm saying? You got a guy, Fuquan, man, who's innocent up there, man, been sitting a long time. You got a lot of dudes that I was sitting there, you know, that I built with, man, every day, who was proven innocent. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to look at everybody not just with a guilty eye. Look at them for how their case was. Look at for the truths that was missing in their case, man, and set them free. But when it comes to the prison, you got to give them things that are going to prepare them for the street. Give them more things that, you know, trades. Give them more, you know, exercise and space, man. You know what I mean? Like prison, Norfolk, the doors are open. It's more like a college dorm. But guess what? You get a few treats and there's no fights.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because if you treat us like human beings, all we want to do is elevate. When you give us a chance to get away from the chaos that, okay, we don't have to look over our back, we're regular citizens. We came up in a time that was chaos. And I asked any other citizen, I said, if you come out if you lived in an environment where the second you step out this door, there's guns all around you, there's violence all around you, and at any given time you could be attacked, would you carry a gun?
Right.
They're gonna say, yeah. I said, that's why we did too. You see what I'm saying? It's like we're stuck in an environment, no matter where you are in any place in this world, man. It's gonna be a tick if in the ghettos. We're fighting for resources, we're fighting for no jobs, and we're fighting for the crumbs, man. So it's like at 13 we're getting charged and for things. It's like we don't have no opportunities no more. You done took away half of what jobs we can get. So, you know, back then it was, you know, it was systematically fucking us.
So I'm glad you brought up Fuquan, because you're not the first person to actually talk about him. So just talk a little bit about what your experience with that man is and what he's doing for people in Norfolk.
That's a very powerful human being, man. You know what I mean? He's someone that got a lot of people that's doing, you know, great things out here. It's come from that circle, that cloth, man, and they used to build together, man, as well as me, man. Fuquan, man, is someone that has always stated his innocence. His prison is crazy, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can only keep up the facade for so long, man. You see what I'm saying? Like, people kind of weed out, man, who's really fucking about, you know, did shit and who didn't, man. You see what I'm saying? Fuquan, man, is someone that always stood on principle, always someone we believed in, and always someone that we still want free today. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, he speaks, like I said, a powerful message, and they're missing a powerful mind out here that can really guide these youth, man, in a different direction, man. And that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. Why is it he's fighting for his freedom, free Fuquan? Why is it important to bring him home?
And it's important to bring all of our dudes to home, man. You know what I mean? Like, no matter, man, if they was guilty or not, man. If they served, man, 25 years, 30 years, man, like, they're changed people, man. Massachusetts, man, I think was fourth in the country, man, of lifers, man.
Yeah.
You know, we was tied with Louisiana. It's like,
It's crazy.
You have to understand, if we're a dot, and then we're in 4.3 miles of just us being together, of the violence, then how we have so many lifers? You see what I'm saying? How we are writing off so many people's lives off the rip, man. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of the times, man, these guys are juveniles, man. These guys don't even have the mind state to even think that they're doing something wrong, man. They're followers of their gangs, man. So it's like, it's different, man. When you come out in the street and someone's trying to kill you, and then that person gets killed, it's like, it's different. It's you're living in Iraq. We're living in gang warfare, and it's better now. And I'm happy to see the streets cleared because that's what we really needed, man.
It's almost like they would rather you be dead than defend yourself in a messed up way. I mean, do you agree with that? Like, the system would rather you not protect yourself. You're supposed to have a Second Amendment right to bear arms. Right. Nowhere does it say, oh, unless you're a felon, anything like, not in the Constitution. You know what I mean? Do you think it's that? Do you think the first degree automatic natural life sentence in Massachusetts? Why so many in Massachusetts when?
We can't blame the police. It first has to start with us, man, and what we want to do and how we want to change, man. You know what I mean? So to sit there and blame the police is in the government is nothing. I'll tell you one thing, the police never did nothing but come after a scene after I finished. You see what I'm saying? And if they was on the scene, I didn't do nothing but wait till they leave, man, to go do something. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't blame the government and the system. You have to change your way of thinking, man. You have to say, listen, man, that guy isn't my enemy. And I think that we're doing a better job of that, man, of knowing there's better things in life to fucking chase after. You see what I'm saying? But growing up, once you're in the gang, man, you're always in the gang. You see what I'm saying? And you defend each other's honor, man. You know what I mean? Because that person might save your life tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you become dependent on a lifestyle that's not real.
And they say lifers have a very low recidivism rate.
Man,
they don't reoffend as much.
We don't.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Because you really learn everything that when you're doing life, you sit there and you have time to reflect on every mistake you did in your life, man. Whether you was innocent or guilty, you're going through the daily torture of losing people, of people just falling out on your life, man. You know what I mean? Like, I heard it, man, somewhere. It was like, man, everywhere, man, I built my bond, nigga. And then, man, a judge said guilty, man, and everything was fucked up. Everybody just fell off. And, like, that's what happens in prison, man. People be like, oh, okay, man, I'm going to prison. I'm going to be the realest, toughest motherfucker. Yeah, when you're in county. Yeah, when you're doing 3 to 5. When you start doing 7 to 10. When you start doing 12 to 15. When you start seeing motherfuckers with 20 to 30. You start saying, damn, man, you know what I mean? Like, we used to teach the little kids, not kids, but we used to teach the youngsters, man, that, listen, man, this ain't the way. You don't want to be us. And then we built that shit in Norfolk. But, yeah, man, like, you have to understand, man, that when you get out of doing life, that's something you don't never want to experience again. Again, read the book. You're going to find out everything in source of information, man, in part 3. So stay tuned.
When's part 3 coming out? Do we got a date yet?
So
I know you're working on it.
I'm probably like 95% done, but I've probably been like 95% done for like 5-6 months. So I've had a few more projects coming out, man. So, I've been really into it. So I want to say September, August, man, and but it's something that's gonna shock the world, man. It's something that is definitely gonna touch on the streets, prison, and the injustice of how people could get wrongly accused and convicted, man. So it's something to really check out.
And speaking of that, it's just, I feel like the whole wrongful conviction thing, and then someone saying that they're innocent, appealing their case, they go in front of a parole board, and that's held against them. They want you to admit to the crime. They want you to be remorseful. Do you think that's something that needs to change?
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, if a person did his time, that's should all that matter? Of course, man. First and foremost, you have to be remorseful to the family.
Yes.
But you should feel that way whether you're guilty or not, man. You know what I mean? You don't have to be guilty to feel remorseful. And that's why I say they shouldn't hold it against them, because that person is probably remorseful for the family. They just know they didn't do it. And they just don't want to admit to something that, you know, they know that will stain them in the heart, man. Some people can't live with themselves, man, for admitting a lie, man.
Yeah.
And that's probably the way the government is set up, man. Like, if you take a plea deal, you're kind of forced to admit everything that the DA laid out. Whether that's the case or not, you have to admit that, okay, yes, I plead guilty to those facts.
Yeah, all the facts.
And
of the
then
case.
when I've been there where, like, I'm saying, no, that's not the case.
Right.
And they're saying, well, do you want the plea deal or not?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you, like, you know, if that's not the case, then we can't accept the plea deal. If you're being coerced or you believe that's not the facts, then we can't give you this deal.
Yeah.
So it's like a catch-52, man, you know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is, too. And law just passed, raised the age, right? But they're still fighting to raise it even more. Where do you stand on that?
So for those don't know, I'm a product of the juvenile system. You know, I was 17 when I was charged with my crime. So I was underneath the old law, 1994, basically with statutory good time still intact. You know, manslaughter 18 to 20, 11-8, man, basically. Yeah, I think that at any given time, man, we need to change everything. We need to rethink the laws, man. 25, I think that we shouldn't have life without parole. I think we should do 25 to life.
Right.
I think that after 25 years, you should be able to evaluate whether a person's still dangerous. We're sitting here taking care of people who are 70, 80 years old and are no harm to the society. They made one mistake. I know a lot of civilians. My cellmate has over 50 years in. And he was doing prison at a time that they used to let him go out in society and work.
The furloughs and stuff.
And all that. So you see what I'm saying? So here is a guy that, I don't know whether he did it or not,
Right.
but here is a guy that was already in society, trusted, and still was working and doing things and returning back to prison. You see what I'm saying? Back then it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna look you over. It's like, okay, go ahead and we're gonna come back.
On you, right.
So here is a guy that doesn't want any hatred in his heart, anybody to ever, you know, be hurt again, whether he did it or not. Yeah, he has over 50 years and there's no harm to anybody.
Yeah. Like you said, some people are older. They're sick. Like you said, they're not a threat to society.
Listen, I was in the lifers block. So you have to understand, I probably had, when I came into the lifers block, I probably had like 6 years or whatever, and that was the lowest. You know, when I left, I had 12. It was still the lowest.
What camp was this at?
So this is Norfolk. So
Norfolk,
Unit
Lifers
2,
Block,
too.
okay.
So lifers block, man, basically, you're talking about people in there that had 30, 40. So I sat at a 4-man table. Again, my cellie had probably, he has over 50 years now. The other 2 guys were exonerated. One did 30, one did 22. So it's like, you have to understand that people that had no hope end up getting a second chance because it was brought to light. But this is something that they shouldn't have had to wait all these years over. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people like that are still fighting.
Right. Is there a lot of violence that goes on these lifers block? Like compared to Nashville Street or something?
So I want to say Norfolk, right? There wasn't a whole lot of violence on the whole camp. So again, you could cook. You had Ben & Jerry's ice cream. You could buy chicken, hot dogs, everything. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Treated like human beings. You had actual jobs that you really went to earn trades. You had college programs, you know what I mean? So you treated like human beings. You have doors that are not locked like that. So, you know, you can move about on your own time. You have open yard men all the time. So it's like when you give us the resources, man, and you let us kind of have a say on governing ourselves, we're going to do right because all we want to do is right. But we're in an environment that everything's wrong. Now that we're older, the environment's a lot better, but we come out with a different plan.
Yeah.
We come out like, okay, we're going to do better. We're going to try to make an impact on the youth. And a lot of my friends, man, have nonprofits or just do it for free because that's something that we believe in, not because, we're going to get paid for it. It's something that we was doing for free in Norfolk that we loved, men, to, make a change.
Do you think, not even just Massachusetts, but around the country, we need more spots like Norfolk?
I think that's the only way to go. I think that
should be the ideal.
Listen, if you're really talking about prison reform, then you're talking about letting them adjust to society. You know what I mean? If you're eating off of trays and all that, then it's like, listen, you're not really fucking adjusting. If you're in a spot that the door is slam on you, you're not really adjusting.
Right.
If you're on a camp that you don't get to move around, you're still in a cage. And you have places like that in Massachusetts that still the chaos go on. But you come down to Norfolk where they've been fighting all their bid and got enemies, the same enemies. Everybody says, okay, we'll continue this later. And then eventually they're saying hello. You see what I'm saying? Because everybody wants to live good. Everybody wants to do good. But you also want to live comfortably when you're in jail. When you're in prison, nothing beats living comfortably. Your family usually fell off. Your girls definitely fell off. You know what I mean? Friends been gone, you know what I mean? So it's like, what do I have? But my own mind and living comfortable. You see what I'm saying? And when you start getting things that you can't have in any other prison, you appreciate that shit.
Yeah, and they give you a little head start. And a lot of people coming home, they started college in there. They come out, they're pursuing their degree. They're really getting it. It's like you said, you put somebody in cage, they're going to act like an animal. But you put somebody in a learning environment, community environment, they're going to act like students.
Right. So we used to have people, man, Shorty Mac, man, Sabir, Shorty, man. So these are dudes that used to perform, man, in the prison, man. Like, these were our stars of the prison, man, that used to perform and that we used to, look at, man. And now all of them are home. These are 3 lifers, and they're still doing their shows, man. And it's just, it's a great thing to see because these are people that kept our spirits up when we was down. These are people, man, that had the, gym and the stadium packed, man, to the roofs, man, you know what I mean? Everybody with coffee in their hand, everybody waiting to have a 3-hour show. And that's something that Norfolk provided that no one else gave. No one else had a music program that'll give you, okay, man, you get to perform. You get to, do shows for the inmates. And that's something like we look forward to, you know what I mean? Like little things that count.
Do you think it's important to have people from outside come into prisons for programs like that to connect on a human level?
So
with
that's
people?
another thing about Norfolk is it's just not a place where the inmates built. It's a place that the inmates built programs that we participated in, and now we have outside people that come in that really care for inmates. You know what I mean? Like that really take time out of their day, their night, and come and build with us, man. Come in. And you never know, man. Some of those people that used to come to the prison, they might have saved a life.
Yeah.
They might have saved a fight that day, man. Because in prison, man, you have to understand, you're really reacting off of everybody else's emotions, what they're going through that day, and how tough they are. You see what I'm saying? And things easily cross the line in prison where disrespect needs to be handled right away. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it's a real fine line, man, of just learning how to deal with people. And that's why a lot of people, man, that come home from prison are people. Because you have to know where another person is going before they're going in prison. You see what I'm saying? You have to know that he's having a bad day. This isn't a time to joke with him. This isn't a time to play. This isn't a time to say something out of order. You see what I'm saying? You kind of have to measure where a person is, man. You know what I mean? Unless you don't give a fuck and you're just ready to keep on going to the hole. You see what I'm saying? But if you're really ready to build and you're really trying to, a lot of people that's really trying to build are doing a lot of time.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a lot of time, more than likely you're trying to flip your case. Trying to flip your case, no way you could do that in the hole. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to be where the law work is. You have to be where the minds are of trying to fucking come home in the same place where you're trying to go. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And everybody helps each other.
So there's no access to that legal stuff in the hole and everything, or limits, very limited?
It's very, so in the hole, you're basically have to know the case laws and send it out, and they'll give you a copy of the case laws that you're looking for. When you're out in population, you can basically go to a computer and just search shit.
Yeah.
And come across shit. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand, there's times that I come back like this much of legal of case laws, and I'll go through all those case laws just to find one or two sentences that might pertain to me.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'll throw that away. In 2-3 weeks, we have some more like this. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're really fighting for your life, then you have time to play. Yeah, you have time to, have fun, man. But you have to go to work. No one's gonna bring you home when you're doing a life sentence like yourself. Your lawyer's gonna put in time, but they usually have 40, 50 clients. So no one is a better advocate for yourself than yourself.
Absolutely, man. And I appreciate you coming here to support what I'm doing over here, man. And I'll be sure to support you the same way. I'm gonna buy a couple more of them books for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And y'all better make sure you do the same right here, man. This has been riveting. I haven't read it all the way through, man, but it feels good to read again, bro.
Man,
it's been a minute. You know what I mean?
And listen, wrong turn right, it tells the beginning, and that's when we're really in the game coming up, man. But I hope you look forward to part 3, because it's going to show you the growth, the adjustment of mine, and basically how I made the transition from being a thug to a gentleman and, trying to give back.
Absolutely. And just one more time, why is it important to be a gentleman?
I mean, listen, man, it costs nothing, man, to, be kind and just be respectful. A lot of people have a negative energy, man, but when you just, bring a good aura around people, good things tend to happen. So I think that, you always supposed to put your best foot forward, man, and, say hello, man, speak, and, be a gentleman.
I mean, nothing positive is going to come from a negative attitude.
Right.
That's the way I see it. Thanks again for coming through. Guys, the Bounce Back Podcast. Remember, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. On that note, we out of here. Peace.
Cheers.
Bounce back, ain't got a moment when they see